Hey guys, it's Nichi. It's Sunday and it's time for another author spotlight. Today we have another Canadian author who happens to also be a local author to myself, Steve Stred.
Hey, thanks for having me, Nichi. My name's Steve Stred. I'm an author. I describe my work as somebody who writes dark and bleak fiction. My stuff typically doesn't have too many happy moments or moments where characters have a decent or fun resolution. I typically put out quite a few numbers of or pieces of work per year. Typically following or focusing on novellas and short stories, which you'll find in a number of anthologies. I've been writing for a number of years now, celebrating year 5, I think, this year of having stuff put out. And otherwise, yes, thanks for having me, and I hope some people find some cool reads in my work.
I recently picked up a couple of Steve's pieces at a local indie bookstore that I am very excited to be able to jump into as soon as I get a quick moment. I don't know about all of you, but I am very excited to get to know more about Steve, so let's just jump right into these questions. Has writing always been a passion of yours?
I would think yes. I would say I was typically always kind of formulating stuff in my head growing up. I grew up in the middle of nowhere in BC. I had 3 sisters who lived with me and 2 older sisters who didn't. I was the only boy. Not a lot of people lived in that area. I did have some friends, but you're not always hanging out with them. So I used to make up, fantasy sports leagues where I pretty much did everything in it, and I kept my own stats, and I wrote, storylines about that and everything, about, what team wins the cup or whatever sport it was. At the same time, I used to, be very active and play with, G.I. Joes and Transformers and stuff. So I was always storytelling in one way or another. In high school, that's what I kind of started to do more creative writing classes and writing poetry and stuff like that. So it was always something I was really passionate about. It wasn't until my athletic career was kind of winding down, injuries started to add up, and we were, expecting our first, our child, our only child, Oren, that I was really putting more kind of work into it and enjoying that and doing that. And from then, it's just been a progression. It's one of those ones where I just wanted to write the stories that I wanted to read, and it's been very cool that other people want to read them as well. It's one of those things that I never expected. I never expected anybody to even, buy a single copy of any of my stuff other than what I would buy for a friend or whatever. But it's been pretty cool, and it's something I really love to do. And it's something that kind of fills that, not competitive void, but that part of my brain where I need to have an independent focus to really kind of, get that aspect done and see what I can accomplish with it.
You have quite a bit of work out there, and I know this may be a hard question, but do you have a favorite of yours?
That is a tough one. I do have a lot of work out there. So I think, I've really enjoyed everything I've done. In terms of pieces that stand out for me, I think in my novella releases, I think Yuri is one that, kind of really forged the mold or kind of set out what I would be trying to do from here on out. It's a pretty dark tale, and it's one that I don't think a lot of people even really know I have out. In my novel stuff, I think Piece of Me really shows kind of, where my mind goes between, dark fiction, fantasy, horror, creatures, beasts, snow, mountains. That kind of, ticks all of the boxes for what stuff I normally write. And in the short stories I have out, that's a tougher one. I think, even Time Out Noose from Frostbitten, 12 Hymns of Misery, and, For Balder Walks, which was kind of the prequel or the story that led into Piece of Me. It's just everything kind of has a piece of me in it. So it's tougher for me to really pick out one that really kind of, is the huge one for me that I'm most proud of. But, I have such a varied writing range, I guess, even science fiction stuff. So it is really hard to pick and almost impossible to pick, because I have favorite characters from different stuff and favorite storylines that run out throughout stuff. So I can't pick just one, but I would say I'm happy with everything for sure.
What is your favorite part or parts of the publishing process?
Absolutely the writing. Just conjuring that story, coming up with it, getting the beginning, middle, and end, seeing how the characters evolve. I'm more in the, we'll call it the pantser role than the plotter role, although I do pretty much try to get the entire story done in my head, ready to go, so that I know, kind of where point A to point B to point C would be, and then fill in the gaps from there. Otherwise, I love the editing aspect of it as well. Myself trying to become a better, more efficient writer. Seeing the fantastic notes that David Sodergren sends me, because he, edits all of my stuff. So, he's hands down made me a better writer, and just getting the feedback from him. And as I'm writing stuff, sometimes I'll be like, no, like, I know exactly what he's going to say here. I need to kind of redo this part. And so, for me, I think that's the most exciting thing, is just, writing those stories and getting something down that I want to read. Like I've said before in a previous question, I want to read what I'm writing, and I think that's the biggest part about everything. And once it's out in the world, it's out in the world. People may love it or people may hate it. But if I'm happy with the story I've done, then I'm happy with it, and we go from there.
Where would you like to see your work 5 years from now?
Gee, that's a tough one. The way that my writing works, or the way that I have things plotted out, I have a spreadsheet on the computer with everything I'm working on. I think right now I'm at like 25 different works in progress. So, there's a lot going on. So stuff that I'm, working on right now will be seeing the light of day probably in 5 years. So it's one of those parts where I just want to keep, getting better, keep, pushing myself to write something, darker, more emotional, and just, a better product for people to enjoy. If people hate it, and I still think I'm pushing myself and doing, a better job at my personal craft, then fantastic. I'm really happy with that. I equate it a lot to, again, the athletic side that I came from, where a personal best in a specific lift or a throw, or, no matter what you were doing, sometimes that would take years. Sometimes you'd have a good day training and you would hit a specific number and you'd be blown away, but you may not get back to that number for 5 years, and it's just working on a technique and working on accessory muscles, stuff like that. So the same for this. It's just refining, working harder, and just getting to that point of continuing to improve, but then also being happy with the improvements you see.
What is the largest obstacle you have faced during your author career?
I don't know if I've really faced an obstacle. I would say the biggest obstacle or barrier of entry for anything like this is the fact that there's just so many good authors out there, and there's so many good books being released, whether it's a novel or novella or a collection or short stories or whatever. It's just, you have the big names, you have the big-ish names, you have the medium names, you have all of that you're competing with. And so it's just one of those ones where, you can't base a lot of stuff on, where you think you should be. It's really about, being happy with what you've done, because that's all you can really control. It's one of those things where, right place, right time sometimes. You know, a couple of the books that I've had that took off, I didn't really expect those ones would, when I was thinking something else might be a hit. So I've really stopped trying to determine that, and I just keep, like I said, keep trying to put out stuff that I'm happy with, keep put out stuff that I'm proud to put out and that I think readers will enjoy. And I've always tried to make all of my stuff, you know, as accessible as possible for price point. For you know, if you're a reviewer and you want digital copies, like I'll send you any and all. It's just, you know, that's the biggest obstacle to any new author and established author, is the lake hasn't changed size, but there's that many more fish in that pond, and so it's a bit tougher to you know, have any sort of expectation as to what's going to happen. You know, back even a few years ago, pre-orders might have made some sort of estimation of how things would go. Even now, you can't even base it on that anymore. So I think that's the biggest thing, and I think it's something that can be disheartening for new authors and for established guys. But you know, I think if we can just keep you know, building each other up and working hard to continually support each other, I think that's the way to overcome all of this, is just you know, tackle it as a group versus an individual, and you know, it's not as disheartening at times than it can be.
Would you care to share anything that you may be currently working on, or is it a secret?
You know, as I mentioned in a previous answer to a question, I have a spreadsheet with a massive amount of works in progress. So currently, actually today I just submitted a novel for submission to a few different places, and querying somebody about it. I'm working on parts 2, 3, 4, and 5 of my Empyrean saga. Working on another novel that I hope might be out at the end of this year. And then I'm working on the omnibus for the Father of Lies trilogy, the third and final one. Sacrament just came out about a month ago. And, you know, kind of getting all the pieces together to get that out. And working on a third story to make a Wagon Buddy style omnibus. And working on books 2 and 3 in my Sermons of Sorrow trilogy, which Piece of Me was the first one. So I just, you know, I have a ton of stuff going on. One novel that I know a few people have heard of me talk about before, called 456 Blatchford Drive. So 456 Blatchford Drive. Something I announced a while ago, and at one point it was going to be a very, very limited release. I'm still plugging away on that. I had a big time block on that one. And for me, I don't really get, you know, I don't really get writer's block. I move to something else because I have so much else going on, and I'll circle back around to it. So for that one, I had a block. I couldn't think of kind of how I wanted to approach something, and I ended up taking an online writing course, and it completely opened up how to do it. And so that really helped there. So I have a ton of stuff on the go. A couple sequels to stuff possibly in the works, and really it's just, you know, as far as that, it's still working on everything else with you know, the Ladies of Horror Fiction Writers Grant that we are in the 3rd year, and just trying to continue to support as many people as I can, and continue to try to be as positive a person in our horror community as I can, because at the end of the day we need to, you know, build everybody up and you know, keep doing our part to make sure everybody has a fantastic time. So yeah, thanks so much, Nichi, for having me, and thanks to anybody who's watching this. And if you want to check out my stuff, come find me. I'm pretty active on all social medias, and always send me a message. I'm always up to chat. All right, thanks a lot.
There you have it, everyone. That is the fantastic Steve. Thank you so much, Steve, for coming on and taking part in my Author Spotlight series. It means so much to me. I can't wait to be able to dive into the couple pieces of yours that I did pick up. And for all of you watching this video, thank you so much. It means so much to me. But of course, you guys know it means so much to the authors as well. As usual, I will have all of Steve's socials in the description below, so you can go head over there, send him all the love, check out his work. You know you're going to want to. Maybe you want to plan a buddy read with me. Anyhow, that's everything for me today. I hope you enjoyed this Author Spotlight, and I will see you guys all in my next video.